Welcome to Working with Identities, the podcast where meaningful conversations between individuals and companies come to life. Join us as we explore the dynamic relationship between personal identities and companies. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to this podcast, Working with Identities. In this podcast, we are working and we're dedicated to fostering meaningful conversations between identities and companies, with each episode highlighting the experiences, challenges, and talents of individuals from different social and demographic groups. And we are working on creating a constructive space where stories are shared, solutions are explored, and understanding is built, ultimately promoting a more inclusive workplace and society. Today, we're going to be talking about a very, very interesting topic, creating safe spaces for dialogue. My name is Mahmoud. I'm going to be your host, and we have two amazing individuals that are going to share with us from their experience on how can we create these safe spaces at work. So I'm going to start by passing the microphone to Silka. Hi, Silka. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, hi, Mahmoud. Thank you so much for having me. And hi, everyone. I am Silka Gurabardi, born and raised in Albania. At a time of change and transition, I might say, wasn't the most ideal situation to grow up to, but it's what has shaped me and maybe the person that I am today, to be honest. So now I'm very grateful for that experience, as it gave me a reason to start fighting for the right thing, and at a very and speak up at a very very early on, I think. And now I've lived for 16 years in different European countries. I speak four languages. I get to call the beautiful diverse Berlin my home. But yes, that passion, that activism, and that passion for social justice hasn't changed much. The thing that has changed is that due to the right opportunities, I guess, I kind of turned it into a profession. And now my diversity, equity, and inclusion work is not driven anymore on just what is because it is the right thing to do. I think it is a bit more strategic, focused more in promoting equitable practices and empowering everyone to thrive, that so that we all can benefit, us as individuals, corporation, organizations, and society as a whole. For that, I'm quite grateful to my current company, to be honest, not just because it gave me the opportunity to turn one of my biggest passions into a career, but also because they are very committing into doing diversity and equity and inclusion in the right way, so to say.
Great. Thank you very, very much, Silka, for being here today, and very much looking forward to everything that you're going to share with us today. I also want to pass the metaphorical microphone to Agustina. Hi, Agustina. Thank you for being here.
Hello, Mahmoud. Hello, Silka. Very passionate introduction from your side, Silka. I'm really glad to join this conversation with you both because I know your commitment to diversity and inclusion. Me, myself, I'm head of people and culture at Bridge for Billions, and I'm also a psychologist specialized in positive psychology, organizational, and also chief well-being officer. And I'm passionate about human beings. That's my passion. And I've been working in the HR field for about more than a decade, actually, 11 years, in different settings, from multinational corporations to startup, where I am right now. And I have this inner drive to support people to find their true selves, to be able to live their lives authentically. So when I was called to join you in this podcast, I was really glad because diversity and inclusion is a topic that really speaks to my heart. I'm from Argentina originally, but I've been living in Spain for about 18 years already. So a long time. And I have two kids here and I have a partner here. So it's kind of like I'm a citizen from everywhere in the world. And happy to be here in this conversation with you both.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you again both for being here today. I would like to kick us off with in the conversation with really defining what it like the title of this episode that we're doing. So we're talking about creating safe space, and I would love to really for us to define at the beginning what it means to create a safe space. What is a safe space, and how does it look like at the workplace?
Mm,
Mm.
Lovely question to start with. I can start if you want. To me, safe space equals to psychological safety, which is a concept that I love and that I really work hard for companies to make part of their day to day basis. And a psychologically safe space is just an environment where employees and people in general feel secure enough to be themselves, to speak up, to share what they think, to show themselves as they are authentically, without fear of judgment, reprisal, retaliation, discrimination. So it's a place where actually they can be themselves and they can behave in the way that it's in tune with what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And in organizations, how we can see this, where we see this when companies prioritize actually practices and policies that are linked to that psychological safety space. So individuals can have this conducive environment to be themselves and not fear that they're going to be judged, they're going to be fired, they're going to be discouraged, they're going to be like put on a label and discriminated, even in a positive discrimination. Like, this is a group of people from this minority, this is a group of people from this other minority. So maybe when they feel psychologically safe, they don't feel that they need to be targeted or labeled, and they are free. They have freedom for be who they are.
Wow. Well, everything that Agustina said, and beautiful. No, she said it all. Like, I mean, there are so many, if we Google it or anything, might come like different definitions of safe spaces. And yes, the core, I truly agree with you, Agustina. It is that about that psychological safety, so to say. So it is for me, a safe space is just like a place where everybody can be their authentic self without fear of discrimination, without harassment, and like really truly, like, and also like it has to come from it's basically a place of respect. You have to feel the respect. So yes, and how do we foster it? I think very much important is like in the workplace is just to cultivate a culture of like just by being curious. We're talking today about creating that dialogue. So yeah, promoting those open communication, creating opportunities for learning, and creating that environment where everyone is like feels like safe to really share their ideas, and to share their ideas and to share their concerns, and also like to empower them to just take risks. It's very important. I think one of the most important thing is like, it's you can make mistakes, where I'm not saying there are no mistakes, there are going to be mistakes and everything, but it's like, why not turn them into an opportunity of learning, so to say. So it is about being intentionally inclusive in this case, and it's very crucial in every diversity, equity, and inclusion work. I think it's at the core of it, because we are truly asking everybody to bring their whole self at work, which is not easy task, especially if you're like thinking about, and why do we do this as DI or many other DI practitioners? Of course, we want to do this because we want to live in a world when everybody's feels free to be themselves, and to express their opinions openly. But we want to do it because once you create this space for everybody to be themselves, like, you're going to create more well-being, more productivity. You're going to get those great ideas that's going to help us to learn, make smarter decisions, create better products, and it's going to, as I said, benefit us all, like our products, our people, our customers, the communities to serve. But also very specific component when we're talking about DI, we are also working from people from marginalized groups, and underserved communities that most likely at a certain point, or maybe a lot in their life, have felt that discrimination, have felt judged, have not felt heard. And we are asking them to bring their true self at work, and to trust us.
Mm.
So it has to be very, very intentional. We can do this, and we can get the best out of people and help them reach their full potential by creating the safe spaces.
I wanted to add there something because I think, Silka, you mentioned a word that is really powerful, and that is respect. And like you said, many marginalized groups and people for underrepresented minorities maybe felt like they weren't able to do that for such a long time, and they were the opposite, oppressed. That as a company asking them to do that, to bring their true selves, to be authentic, it's gonna take a lot of not only company change their mindset, but also supporting people to do that as well, to really construct that space, that safe space for everybody, and for people not to feel forced and not to feel not respected and obliged in a way to, okay, I need to be my true self. Yeah, but what is that? What is being your true self when sometimes you don't want to show yourself because you already carrying a lot of psychologically heavy baggage for what you've been through. So I think what you mentioned also, the training, it's key here, and that training rooted in respect. So we understand that even though as companies we want this and we want people to thrive and to be their true selves, it's not going to be like pushing a button and overnight, okay, everybody is authentically who they are, and they dress as they want to dress, and they share what they want to share, and they like put their mindset out there, because it's going to take a lot. And not only from companies, also from individuals, to really say, okay, I can trust this space. So it's something that is not only psychologically or sociologically from companies, but also from individuals, and we need to support them in this journey.
100%. And I think like what I love is I think like you both indirectly said something that is very important, is that this safe space is not like part of the workplace. It's the entire workplace that we're generating, right? It's all the interactions that we're generating. It is not just me creating, oh, here you can come and you can complain about things. It is me truly creating an entire work environment where people truly are active. And the last point that you made, I think like is very crucial to understand this concept of safe space, because it, as you mentioned, like you need to understand the realities of people, not just because you want to create a safe space, people were just going to be very open automatically with you and whatnot. It takes effort. And I
Mm.
think this is also like what we're going to talk about right now as well, like because one of the major questions of us understanding this safe space, because it's very important to like it's a fundamental aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we depend usually on the input of employees that help us shape this space or this environment that we want to create. So that the main question that I have for you now is kind of like, how can we generate engagement with such initiatives? Did you face any challenges before, maybe in regards to this, like wanting to create a safe space, but maybe people are not engaged enough, and you want to know like how can we get them to that point?
You want to go, Silka?
Yeah. Oh, very, very, very important question is like I would love like to literally like go to the core, because I bet everyone that is working in this space has faced many challenges. As I said, we say it's the core, but it's like a continuous working towards it, and a continuous learning. And I think one of the most important thing is like, yes, it is about active listening. It is about seeking that input. It's like our work is based on that. But for me it's very important also in how we do it, like how do we collect. It's very important, as we said, as much as we want to think that we have created the safe spaces, not everybody is there yet. Maybe we are not communicating it right. Maybe some people, because of their own background and because of their own lived experiences, still don't trust us yet. And so I think it's also very important, like, yes, continuously seeking that feedback, continuously listening, but also having it in different systems. We do our engagement service. Sure, we literally have to look at all those comments. And I think one of the important thing to really get the engagement is get the feedback and act on it. Because if you lose that trust, if people are sharing and you're not listening to them, and yeah, one of the challenges with engagement service, it is that, especially in big corporations, sometimes there is a lot of feedback that comes and little comments, but you have to take the time and at least communicate it that you read them and you're doing further investigation in the case might be, or but like let's please recognize them. And second, it's very important, although we have engagement surveys that are anonymous per se, still I really believe we still have to give, like, for example, a whistleblower line or like a way of reporting that it's managed by a third party, that people can still feel safer if they really don't trust us yet with their comments or even the internal engagement survey. So I think it has always to be there. Third is about creating those relationships, get as many of these open conversations with people, the challenge there is like I try my best to really have face-to-face interactions, and I try to have hybrid meetings, so I make sure that everybody's in the room because you have to make sure to listen to everybody. But yeah, I'm one person and I'm physically in one of the places, and so it is hard to really think like you have listened to everybody, you made sure that everybody is giving their input. But I really do, like, for example, I trust a lot in our local DI champions, as we call them. So I partner with other people. They create their own safe space, their own community, and they partner with us to give me that feedback. And I try my best. And I think ERGs, employee resource groups, are an amazing space to have to create those engagement and initiatives and to really create that safe places for especially marginalized groups or like underserved, underrepresented communities can feel free to open up and to share really their experiences and their insights with us. It's gonna help us a lot. But also with that is like we have other issues, like there are some challenges in that as much as you can do it right. And I think at OLX and my current company, that is one of my responsibilities to help build the BRGs and help support them. And yes, sometimes like we do have budget for them except supporting, but in the same time, for example, it's very important to recognize and reward this work. And although, for example, in our company, I think we have found a way to recognize and reward them, I see so many other people that would love to get engaged, to help us drive DI, to help us build this safe place, to help us build these communities where everybody can be heard and we can take real actions together. But yes, it's too much on top of their job. In the ideal world, you would give like a couple of hours within the normal working hours for them to work in this. So yes, so there are many ways to, as like I would say, yes, we have to really make sure that everybody is being heard and really show that you are recognizing it and taking some actions, so to keep like that first, to have that buy-in that yes, we are doing it, our stakeholders believe in us, but also get more people to work with us to drive DI within the company and create these safe spaces.
That was wonderful and a really
Oh, sorry,
complete
that's
answer.
long. Sorry.
No, that was wonderful. And I was, by listening to you, I was wondering, how do we ensure to reward it so it doesn't look like a window shopping, like, okay, we're diversity and inclusion, we're having these policies or these, projects and ideas. How do you reward it so people, so it's not like how we say in psychology, when you give a prize or a punishment, for behavior, because it's at a very basic level. So rewards need to be linked to something deeper in human beings, for human beings to keep behaving that way. Otherwise, it's just, okay, let's just do, what we are asked to do or what we think socially is required right now. So I was wondering about that reward system, how important it is to root it in human beings and the way we pursue our inner motivation, and therefore the behaviors that we tend to carry on with our lives, because otherwise it tends to be superficial. From, I don't know, I was thinking that. And also I have two challenges to share that maybe you experience them as well. Well, 100% what Silka you were mentioning about transparency and open communication and active listening and sharing what are we doing with the feedback straightforward to the stakeholders and also to the company and also to the world, like saying, okay, we're taking this input, what are we doing with this input? We're taking the time, we're reading it, we're gonna create this other strategy, like really doing a follow through of what the input is for, because otherwise people get tired and drained to share their feedback because they see that nothing is put into action. So the two challenges I faced in my career in HR, one of them, I think we all companies share it, it's the skepticism about things put into action when sharing feedback. So people tend to think, oh, what am I going to share? You know, what they're asking me. It's going to be the same. Management is not going to take the time to really look at it from fresh eyes and finding solutions for this. So why bother? Why bother sharing my voice? So that skepticism really, it's difficult for us from HR when we do these engagement surveys and we ask in these open conversations, because we receive this response and we want to empower and encourage people to keep sharing. But at the same time, it's true that sometimes we have a roof to the extent of the things we can do. Not in many companies, like what you're saying, Silka, you're having a role that is specifically for this. But from my side, it's HR, head of people and culture. And sometimes diversity is kind of like a nice to have thing that we can do from time to time, but it's still not something strategic, you know, with somebody who's really hands-on business and doing things for that greater good. So I think that challenge of skepticism is huge, and we need to acknowledge it. And also the way I responded when people said this to me directly, it's like, share it, because maybe it will take for you to share it 2, 3 times, 4 times, but that's your inner self saying what you really believe and who you really are. If you don't say it, how are you being authentic? So that's a way also to empower people to be authentic through sharing what they think, regardless of the effect that will have. And from the companies, we need to be responsible for that. And another challenge I found, and I thought if this is something that if leadership teams take to heart and can act upon it, that will be a major change in companies. I had people telling me, yes, I shared feedback once with somebody from the leadership team, and then I was approached by another member from the leadership team about the thing that I was sharing. Therefore, I don't know who to trust anymore. So we go back to the psychologically safe space. If a team member is sharing something personal or is sharing something, don't mind the personal, is sharing something, and you really don't have that team members okay to share it or to spread that as if they were the news to other colleagues, don't do it. And if leadership team does it, that's really a huge damaging reputation for the psychologically safe space and the policies and the practices we want to have to ensure people really feel listened to and know that they are taking into account. So that was another challenge, and it happened more than once. And the one with the skepticism, which is still happening, but we respond by trying to empower people to keep sharing, and to communicate that from what they share, we took action. Even it's not the action that will take like 180% change, degree change, but there are things that are coming that way. So I think that's very key.
I think what I'm extracting from what you both shared is like the importance of being very responsible of this engagement that we're trying to generate, right? Like first of all, like when you're asking for feedback, why are you asking for feedback? Like because I feel like also there are a lot of companies that just ask for feedback all the time. And then
Yeah.
like what are you going to do with this information? If you're not in a position right now to really respond to this, how are you going to, like, you need to understand what is going to be the response for the people that are taking from their time to share with you these insights in that sense, right? And also being responsible with the information that is being shared, as Agustina just mentioned, like not sharing it with other people and stuff like that. So like from like I'm getting like from what you both said, like the importance of being very responsible and really like dealing with this. And I was reflecting a little bit also like about, you know, how we have a lot of like data protection laws and policies and whatnot. And I think we kind of need to deal with feedback with this sense of responsibility as we deal with, you know, personal data sometimes, you know, in that sense, like how can we understanding truly why we're asking for all of this, and taking the time to respond to the people, at least to respond to the people who are taking the time to do all of this. So I want to add a
Totally.
level of difficulty to the previous question. And like, I think like it becomes a little bit even more challenging to work on this engagement and the creation of safe spaces when you're working in a remote or hybrid work environment, right? And Silka, you mentioned a little bit as well, like you have teams in so many different places. I know Augustine also there are members in various parts of the world. So how do you generate this safe space in such a context?
Sure. I can, I mean, I don't have this, I'm going to be honest, I don't have the solution yet, because this is actually the biggest challenge we face, in a sense, since many companies now work like either fully remote, hybrid mode, as my own company, or like some are back at the office and everything. But like, whereas I appreciate it and I don't want flexible working going away, I want to work in a company that is hybrid somehow, and it gives people the option to choose. Because as a DI practitioner, I've seen
Mhm.
making wonders. Like if people can work from home, we have some of them have more accessibility and they can do it more. So it's been wondrous, like for flexible working. But yeah, it is, because like as I said, like sometimes the best things happen just because I run to somebody and they see me face to face and they know, oh, I can trust her. She's not just like a head on a computer anymore. I know she cares about the way she smiled, that she feels warmth. Like these little things make so much a difference when we're talking about creating that safe space when everybody can be themselves and share their deepest fears or concerns. And how do we do that with you I think you have to overly communicate, that they are still as much part of this group. We still want them to, and try to help them and understand how they're feeling. Are they feeling included? And
Mm.
they are as much part of this engagement and this company as the people that we run at the water cooler. And yeah, sometimes I've had the challenge that, like, sometimes, as I said, from a round table that happened almost like by chance, because 3 4 people come with the same like feedback on a policy or like something they're missing, and it turns into this amazing like brainstorming round table of a safe place where everybody's sharing. And sometimes you're like, okay, but we forgot to ask about that people that are at home. So it's all about even the little small things. You always, as I said, you have to be very inclusive about the way you process your learnings, your trainings, your webinar. Even if I'm hosting in the office, I have to broadcast it. It has to be hybrid because I work in a hybrid model. So you have to be intentionally very, very inclusive of the way you process the meetings. Is it nicer to have a face to face? Yes, it might be nicer, but then just do a round table with the people there that are at home. And always, if something comes up in this meeting that other people are not aware why we started looking into something or why we're doing this new policy, please, please, please communicate it to the people at home. Create a meeting or just a very crafted email and say it happened from an informal communication, but we also want to hear from you. Is this something that concerns you? And we want your feedback and we want to keep you updated where we're going with this.
Mm. Totally. Totally, what you're saying, Silka, like being really mindful and intentional to how we process information, how we manage to create or co-create policies, processes, and even making that informal space that we share in an office, in an in-office setting, to the remote work. In my case, yes, we do have lots of remote workers, half the company, and in different countries, like from South America to Africa. So we really need to, aside from being aware of the time schedule differences, because it's not the same, and also that's something that can be challenging for remote people because they need to connect at the core hours of the company if it's a big company. And that's also something that we need to look into, to be respectful of other people's time schedules, because otherwise you're asking for somebody from South America to connect at 7 a.m. maybe. So those practices about how we connect, when we connect, what time, is it a good time for other people who are remote? Is it not? Shall we change it? Is it a bad time for people who are in a European time zone? We move the meeting at 7 p.m. because it's better for South America, to give an example. So those questions we need to permanently ask ourselves, and also ask the remote workers. One of the first things I did when I joined this company, Bridge for Billions, is having calls with all the remote team members, really to listen to what they were missing, if any, what they liked about how they were working, and many answers. I got the same like trend of trending topic in a way, like, oh, we don't have enough perks and benefits, or we're missing out of career advancement because we are not seen in the in-office setting, therefore it's harder for me to show what is my performance, right? And things like that are challenges for remote team members, as well as the time schedule that I mentioned before, if we are managing or leading teams that are across the globe. So by sharing this and by listening to what they were their concerns, we were able to, say we need to look at this and this and that. Maybe we cannot do a lot in perks and benefits because we need to establish some policies there or there, but maybe we can do like regular coffee catch-ups between remote team members, having sessions for them to really share how they were feeling, create a specific channel as well. And like Silka was sharing, when we launch a policy and when we think about something that can affect the whole company, being mindful of how does connect with them, to include them in the decision-making process. It doesn't have to be a policy finalized until you have also remote team members to be champions of them and agree with them, because at the end, it will also affect them. So I think it's a matter of, and you said it, and I love the way you said it, like being inclusive and intentional to what we do with our diversity, because many times, and I see this from even experience, not from only myself or my work, but from colleagues from HR, we are being diverse in the sense that we have diversity. So it's like we do, check, we have diversity, good, we're a good company. Yeah, but how are we intentionally moving and responding to and connecting with that diversity? How are we including them? And it's not just about policies, it's about the process, like Silka mentioned, of how we come up with those policies, how we communicate them, what are the factors or variables that we're taking into account. That takes, really, in companies, that should take a person doing just that, and that is a lot. Not just a tiny thing that it's like squeezed in an HR role and we can do something from time to time. I'm an advocacy for having a person doing this in companies, and I'm happy, Silka, that you're sharing that this is your experience. But it doesn't happen in many companies, and I think right now we are in a good time, and an eye-opener time, maybe, for people and for companies to really know that this is the way to go if we want to not only like have these happy, thriving people working, which is psychologically proven to improve results, well-being, and everything related to a business need. That's a fact. But also to really connect with the world as where we are today and not being left out.
100%, 100%. And I think like what is really sticking with me right now with what you're saying is kind of like the important, like how sometimes we're just blinded by our experience in a workplace and think that this is the experience at the workplace, right? And this happens with a lot of things, and it is also applied when it comes to like having when you have some remote workers and some workers that are at the location itself that are not working remotely, because you just assume, you don't stop to think, oh, there's another group that is not experiencing the same experience that I have, right? And how this what I think about how common remote work has become in different companies is that it's pushing companies to start having this, you need to always think about the other people's experiences. And I think this is a very good practice that also benefits inclusion overall, not just for remote workers, but for everyone. So I think this is key.
Love it. Love, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That is like, well, I was talking about when we were talking about like we have to make sure we're listening to everybody. This is such a good exercise if you just start with like focusing and like having they being part of the conversation actively. It
Mm.
can just like cascade to other aspect of like seeking out those diverse views and
Mm.
and and
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one more question for you, and I think it's just something that I think is very important. You touched on, I think both of you in different moments, and also we touched on it at the beginning. And I think it's something that makes or breaks somebody's experience at work. It is something that highly affects how much a person engages with those safe spaces. It affects immensely psychological safety, and that is leadership. So, my
Mm.
question for you is, how can we promote practices of safe space and inclusive leadership amongst leaders and managers of an organization?
Mm.
Well, we're gonna be repetitive, but we're gonna go. This is key. I mean, as much as safe spaces are key to DI done right and welcoming and not just welcoming, but like really valuing and those contributions that's, as I said, is gonna benefit us as humans and also our services and products. As much as safe spaces are key to DI and leadership is key to this practice per se, you know. And let's in my experience, we have like in years that I've been working in DI, like we have different trainings or different that sometimes we just develop them or we change them or we replace them depending on the needs or like how where we are in our DI journey. One that is constant is inclusive leadership, and this is
Mm.
for all managers
Mm.
because let's be real, it's important and we need
Mm.
that buy-in, we need that accountability from leaders. It has to like it's a cliche, but you lead by example, you know,
Yeah.
in a sense. And every inclusive leadership meeting training that we do, it differs a little bit, but like the core of it is about creating safe spaces. And why? Because like the manager is going to set the tone of this team, so to say, you know, it comes from that. And another thing that we always coach people is like, yes, start by sharing your own experience. You know, if you
Mm.
admit that you don't know everything, but it's okay, because it is okay not to know everything. If you cultivate that culture of like, just open up, I'm going to listen to you, it's okay, as I said before, to make mistakes and things like that, you're going to get there, you're going to get to that vulnerability. And the team, they're saying like, oh, okay, if it's admitting that and they are admitting that and she's doing that, I can maybe also take a bit more risk and trust a bit this room more. And at OLX, for example, we have like we went even further, we really like build what is called we call them DI meetings in a box, that are literally pre-formatted workshops that help teams to facilitate conversation on DI topics. And you literally give that to the team and it starts like and one of the first meetings, that I think the first one is about talking about explore identity, you know. So in
Mm.
a small circle, the manager starts first saying about what's important for their aspect of their
Mm.
identity that have shaped them and drives them, you know. And this is in a safe
Mm.
space in a sense, like everything that is being said there, it's out of curiosity to get to know each other a bit more. And it's no judgment, it's not going to reflect on everybody's work. So it starts with the manager, and it's basically just sharing little pieces as much as you're comfortable with, but like just understanding where others are coming from, what is important for them. And then it goes in a next meeting within the team, that it goes in the importance of inclusion. Are you ready now to say, when did you not feel included? What was something that bugged you? And we always ask the manager to start first, you know,
Mm.
share moments when you were included and share moments that you maybe weren't included, and goes step by step. And this is I mean, I don't think this is going to solve everything, but like we really need to have that and to create that when we say leading by example, and just creating this safe spaces for conversations and getting to know each other better, understanding each other better, because this is going to be golden for those people that still are not trusting to bring fully themselves at work. And one last thing, like I'm just thinking out loud now. I work for a company that we are very like flat hierarchy. And I myself truly, truly believe that it's not just on leaders. As much as the leaders are important, I think every one of us has power in JI because you still are doing a job, you still are presenting, you still have a voice. And if you implement and you're like bring that to your work and you implement those DI essentials, you're still going to influence the DI in the company. You're going to influence the culture. You're going to help. But as I said, the leaders set the tone for the team. And I don't want that is especially, it is the employee's responsibility to fight for it,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
Let's be real. The leaders have the power to either you grow in that team on your career, they have that power. So they also have to create a safe space for you in a sense. Why should we ask people like, oh no, be courageous, take risk when
mm,
I completely understand if they don't feel safe to do that. And why should they risk their work, you know? So it is so that's why it's very important. Like if you want to get the best out of your team, you have to create this safe place. It's not on them to speak. I mean, there are people that speak up, but some people are just scared of retaliation, losing their job. They struggle to get there. And as I said, especially we cannot make this the work or like the responsibility, especially of people that come from marginalized groups and backgrounds and underserved. They have already a lot of things to deal with, and they don't have to fight the fights for all of us.
mm,
So it is on the leaders in a sense, and another thing is like yeah, like just like thinking about it is like if I am a woman and I'm in a team meetings and when I walk and a male colleague is talking all over me, so to say, and my manager doesn't say anything about it, the things doesn't change, I go to the next meeting and I'm sharing my piece and I have again somebody, a male colleague, talking over me, what I'm going to feel, this is not a safe space for me to talk, not even about work. I cannot even share my ideas. So you're just gonna stay quiet. You're not gonna talk anymore. You're not gonna trust your team. You're not gonna trust this is not a safe place for you. So you're not gonna speak because you still owe it to yourself to protect that job. We need we need our jobs, so to say, and some more than others. And yes, so like I want what is gonna happen. The result is I'm not gonna share my ideas, and maybe I have a
mhm.
brilliant idea that's going to help everyone in the team and it's going to make our services and product. But yeah, you're just going to stop. So it's a very simple example, but that's why it's so important for the leaders to get in this space and to understand you want the best to get to the best our teams, create the safe space, create an inclusive environment, and lead.
And lead. I loved everything you said. I loved it, and especially I I really am against of psychological safety being like, okay, I have high self-esteem and I have psychological. No, it's not a personality trait that you carry with you, and we shouldn't expect that from employees. And leadership, it does set the tone for psychological safety, and it does have that responsibility, even though, as you mentioned, every person can share their voice and have like a saying and raise a hand when somebody is wrong. Even some people don't feel comfortable about doing it, some other people do, but the tone needs to be set by leadership, because that's the example, and because they are kind of like role models for the rest of the team, so they need to act like modeling that inclusivity and that safe space for everybody to speak up and to talk. I love the workshop idea about having topics and creating that conversation. I love the fact that it's conversational, in not just like I don't know, filling a survey and that's it, like making room for those conversations to happen, open dialogue, open safe space for dialogue. I think in the examples you provided, you are doing that very well done. And I think it needs to be a conversation around, for sure, from leaders. And I think it's key what you mentioned, that leaders are the ones starting the conversation and setting the tone and asking questions and reflecting. My fear there, but I don't know if this happens or not, is that it will be I don't know if what the leaders share about their identities and their personal stories feels relatable enough for people to still feel that they are being seen in their diversity. And that is a struggle that I have also when I speak about diversity and inclusion myself also, because we all need training, we all need a lot of sensitivity training, we all need to know, um, not to know before speak, because for sure we can make mistakes and we can own up to our mistakes and put them as part of being vulnerable and leading situations. But I think what I encountered many times, and from colleagues from other companies also in HR, is that yeah, leaders kind of like a show off or a window view of about talking about your identity, but without really connecting to the identity of the other person or making them feel included. But I don't know if this you were able to bring it up in those group sessions or conversations, or if it's not an issue that presents. What do you think?
Amazing question. In my experience, as I said, like we usually, I'm not in all those sessions. There is like a
Mm,
team. It's a team exercise, but to be honest, it is a bit about like just going into like very like nitty gritty, like how much in our intersectionality and how much things like diversity, what it is about, and everything. Like there is maybe a background, and you find out that of course somebody feels a bit uncomfortable because they have a more privileged like
mm,
background, a more privileged status because of who they are, how they look, this the color of their skin. Then
mm,
you see that actually they were like, "Why are you asking me to share my the aspect of my identity?"
yeah.
And like, I'm not asking you to share like aspect of it. I'm asking you to share what has shaped your experience. And
Mm-hmm,
sometimes more often there is a lot of diverse, like there is a lot of differences, but more often than ever a lot of people are going to connect in somehow because they say like they see in a screen is like, I'm a family person, my family was very important for me.
mm,
Oh, I have an accent, I don't speak English very well, and they're still gonna find it's actually, I thought it brought people closer. Yes, sometimes it is a bit a hard task if you are like, if you have people like from very different background and way more privileged situation against underserved communities, but in the same time they're going to see also this that, oh, I also really believe in that, that also what drives me, and that is also part of my culture and my identity. And maybe it's, for example, faith, religion. You
mm,
find people that are from, you find an atheist, and you find people that like really find that although one is like a Muslim and one is a Catholic, just because their faith means so much to them, they just find that, oh, see, we can,
mm,
although we have a different religion, faith has really shaped us and it's important for me, or like little things. So it is an exercise. The idea is that there is nothing wrong, like you just share aspect of identity that shaped your experience. So we are not shaming some people, or like it's, that's another thing. It's not about like, it's not about like, oh, look at the privileged ones, look at them with that amazing upbringing. And I know it myself because I'm a di practitioner, which has lots of privileges. I'm white, I'm straight. But then when I talk to people, then I say, like, well, I didn't have a very privileged upbringing because of that and that and that, and they just like get on the layers.
mm. Thank you.
I think like something that is like that is very important, that and like kind of summarize a bit what you both mentioned, is the importance of shared responsibility, of understanding that this safe space is not doesn't fall only on the leaders, but the leaders do, as you mentioned a lot, do set the tone. They do give the example, and it can be through maybe sharing from their experience. It can be like by creating the space by being the first people to open up in that sense. And it also is about how they maintain the space. If they allow certain actions to happen in the space, or they say this does not happen here, right? And that, because that gets perpetuated within the environment and it happens very, very quickly. And just to add also to the question that Agustina made, I think also it's to understand as well that it's about having this genuine curiosity about people and their experiences and whatnot, and also recognizing our privileges, because it's not an oppression Olympics, like, oh, I'm more oppressed than this other person.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing where we are, and like from the recognizing where we are in this, in the societies that we live in and the work environments that we inhabit. It's also about, okay, I know where I am, I recognize where I am, and I'm very curious about where you are in that sense, and your experience and how it is for you in that sense. And I think it's about really transmitting this message underneath. We have reached our last, like, our at the end of our our time here together. It was such a beautiful conversation. I just
Yeah.
want to like give you maybe like 2 minutes to maybe share any last words that you might have, or anything maybe that you felt that you wanted to share and maybe didn't come up in all the questions that we discussed today.
Well, you did the most beautiful closing with that. Like literally, the way you summarized my answer, I was blabbering. Look at Mahmoud. I don't know if I can top that, but no, like literally, like as I said, safe spaces. It's about all of us. It's about the important to understand the importance of it. But I really think, like you said it, Mahmoud, right now, curiosity. It's not a competition. It's just getting to know each other and respect each other. Just to remember that it's like everybody has come to this life with certain privileges or not, and that they had a journey somehow. And if they're willing to just learn and be curious and accept others, such a beautiful thing. And this is how we create safe spaces.
Wow, nothing to add there. Curiosity, connection, empowerment, but not pushing people, but allowing them to connect with their freedom and setting the tone from companies to leadership to what we want to see in the world, not only in the workplace, but in the world. And I think these conversations are key, and hopefully will be eye-opening for many people out there working in these areas or not working in these areas or wanting to jump into these areas, because we need a lot of professionals that are putting their hands and their hearts to this. And it's not something that will happen overnight, but we saw changes, and we keep seeing changes. So I think I'm getting goosebumps speaking about this, but we see changes from people feeling included, feeling thriving at the work because they feel connected, they feel respected. And we saw the opposite as well. So I think if we choose the path of freedom, connection, curiosity, and enhancing curiosity, if that's a training that we can add to leadership, enhancing curiosity, because many leaders are not curious enough, maybe, I think that's the way to go. So very honored to have listened to Silka, to have listened to you, Mag, because I know how you speak from your heart in these matters, and to me it's a pleasure to have shared this time with you and learn from you.
Oh,
It's a pleasure to have listened to you both. I think you've shared such amazing insights. Like, it's this conversation is golden for me, and so yeah, thank you again for coming here today. And for those that are listening, stay tuned for more episodes that are coming up, where we're going to be discussing other elements of diversity, equity, and inclusion. How can and keep generating this conversation between identities and the workplaces. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Silka. Thank you, Agustina.
thank you both.
Thank
It was
you.
Thank you so much. Great job. Loved it.